All right, so we'll test again. Do test number 2. It's been about 3 or 4 minutes there, so you see, just runs fine, starts up fine, idles fine. But there's still a hint of a miss of a... So you can see the dash really good there. Now, if it's going to do it, it's most likely going to do it now, within the next minute or 2. So I'm wondering if by leaving the EGR valve plugged in with, okay, so just for those who are jumping in on it, my EGR valve, okay, the tube is completely blocked off and disconnected, but the actual body of the EGR valve is still on where it's supposed to be. So what I've done is I disconnected the connector. So I'm going to take another test drive here, see if it does a wacky thing, Mr. Wacky. So we'll see. Got acceleration. Like that's, you know, that's why I call the truck Thunder, you know. My cousin's like, what is he doing now? Go down to my brother's. Ooh, try not to crash. I just want to see if it's going to do it. So we'll watch for engine flashing. My brother's probably going to say, why is he driving through my yard and not stopping? I'll be back in about 5 minutes anyway. I gotta go into the barns and get some hay, old hay for my garden. So we'll see what it does. But these poplars, okay, they got knocked out. My dad knocked them down and they're still growing. Like, why can't I get a truck that reliable? You know, it's like, yeah, the engine's out of it, but it still runs. Nobody coming. So cousin was working on his. My cousin had to put a head gasket on his. Oh, he must have. Holy jeez, he got that done quickly. He's got the truck on. So with it disconnected, but is it going to start doing it again? Like I say, if you could figure out when it's going to do it, then you could kind of track back to what causes it. So I did shake that sensor below the EGR valve, which I do not know if it's a cam sensor, and considering the position where it is, it looks like it would be a cam sensor. It's roughly around that area. Yeah. Right? See, that's why, like, it drives me nuts, because it's like, you know, like, that's how you want it to be. Like, it's not running as good as the truck can run. I know that. Like, it's not running as smooth as it can. But I hit that sensor with a stick while the truck was running, and it didn't miss, it didn't do this, it didn't do that. I didn't hit it really hard, just enough to tap it to see if there was any shorts in it. Now, if it was a wiring issue, every time I hit a pothole, it should do it, right? Just about. But it doesn't do it like that. It'll do it on a smooth road. It'll do it on a rough road in Quebec, which is 90% of the roads are pretty rough. So there's no consistency. So camshaft sensor and crankshaft sensor, you know, I'd like to eliminate those as the problem. You know, like, I don't want to be the guy that, hey, okay, guys, I replaced this, it wasn't it. I replaced this, it wasn't it. Replaced this, wasn't it. For all I know, it could be one little stupid little wire. That said, the codes, why would the codes tell me everything seemed to be the EGR valve? But, you know, it wasn't. Like what would trick the code machine to thinking it was the EGR valve or something else? Now, I know there's 16 plugs on this thing and whatever, and I'm going to give each one of those, what am I going to pop the hood? Every one of the fuel injection sensors, I'm going to give each one of those a little test, maybe a little tap or something, just make sure they're all in there good. But if it was a fuel injector problem, right, you would typically have it all the time. When an injector fails, it's pretty much, you know, like, sometimes they'll come on, they'll come off, whatever, but usually when it's done, right? So it doesn't seem to be that. If it's a coil, again, if your coil's done, it's pretty much, again, same thing. It's done, it's done. It's either working or not, typically with a coil, right? Even a weak coil still fires, you know what I mean? So I don't think it's a coil problem. But of the codes that I got, the only one that wasn't related directly to the EGR valve was the P300 something multi-cylinder misfire. Now, maybe the misfire's actually causing the actual problem for the EGR valve, because what happens is, like I say, the light will go on, the engine light's been on, sometimes it goes off. So I unplugged the truck overnight, the positive off the truck overnight to see if it would reset the computer to, you know, whatever. And I understand the open loop, closed loop thing. I looked into that, what that is, where, you know, your your engine control management system just keeps running diagnostics until it finds a code, and then it'll just flash an engine on it. But the flashing engine light is like, you know, turn it, you know, shut the truck off, shut the vehicle off because you're about to catastrophically bust something, right? But I don't think I've mechanically broke anything. So if it was a valve, you would, like, the thing about, I've heard dying valves on trucks before. My dad's F-150 had a bent valve in it, and it made it sound, you know what I mean? So once you bend a valve, or the valve seat starts coming out, you get that sound every time. Like, it doesn't go away. It isn't, okay, you can hear it, now you can't hear it, you hear it, now here. This thing, it runs perfect, or it runs slightly miss, or it just conks out. You know what I mean? And again, it does it at random. I might drive all day and it not happen. I might have it happen like 2 or 3 times in one, you know, between here and the store, you know, which is only like a kilometer, not even a kilometer. It's really, really, really baffling me what it could be. But it kills my confidence of taking the truck anywhere, because I'm just afraid of the $500 towing. And you say, well, towing's not $500. Around here, yeah, it's $500. The towing, like, just the call is like $250, right? It's towing is like really ridiculous. As far as getting CAA, yeah, I do plan on getting it, but like, okay, I got to get this, I got to fix that, I got to pay for this. Catch 22, right? I can get CAA, or I can pay my rent, or buy, you know, or get gas. You know what I mean? You know, I just can't do it all at one shot when everything's coming at me at once. I mean, I gotta renew the plate, I gotta renew my insurance very soon. I just don't know what I'm gonna do, right? So I have to either A, drive this thing with a Hail Mary all the time, or until I can afford to fix it. But I'm not going to be able to afford to fix it till probably near the end of my season, which is around September, October, right? And that's going to hurt me because I need money to get through the winter, right? So you see what I mean? Like, it's just you know, like I am in one of those predicaments where there's just no easy, clear fix for me. The other thing is just park the truck, put it up for sale. I don't want to do that, but it might be my only option. But then I have no vehicle for the next 3 or 4 years, because it takes me 3 or 4 years to save up for the vehicle. Because if I could buy a vehicle, I would have done that. I just bought a vehicle that's too old, I think, and it's just, but what can I test to see? That's why I drive around with the camera, because when it does start doing it, you might, oh, hey, I've had that happen. Here's what it was for me. And it's a problem that nobody seems to have, of the dying engine thing, it's a problem that nobody seems to have solved with the Hemis. So, like, I thought, well, maybe what if it was a leaky head gasket? But I've experienced leaky head gaskets. They don't do that. Like, leaky head gaskets, they will conk out. Like, you will get hard starting and like stuff like that. But typically a leaky head gasket, you know, runs rough, and then as it warms up, it runs better, unless it's really, really done. But then it would run rough, really rough all the time. So I know it's not that. So I'm just trying to think of what it could be. Now, how can I do tests, and what tests could I do without a scan tool? Like, again, you got to think of, I've got no tools. I got just, like a ratchet kit, and that's it, right? So how can and I do have a voltmeter. Like, what could I test to see if there's, like, I've tested my grounds are okay. It's just, like, I really want to solve the problem, because I'm sure I'm not the only guy dealing with this. And, like, I don't mind going through this if there's a point to it at the end. But, if I have to sell the truck for, with a problem, you got to give the vehicle away, basically, right? Which means you'll sell it for money that will not buy you another vehicle. And because of that, you just don't win, you know what I mean? Anyway.